Excellent. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Youth Adult Partnership Panel. It's day 3 of the AC Week, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today. And I'd also like to hear from you all. So let us know where you're tuning in from by leaving a comment on whatever platform you're viewing on. Also, please engage in the chat with any comments or any questions as we go along today. So today's panel will really be highlighting the work of youth educators and their supportive community organizations. I am Taylor Ruffin, Implementation Strategy Lead with EarthForce, and I'm joined today by Anna Brown, the EarthForce Board Chair. And shortly we'll be joined by Jamie Snyder, an educator at the St. Vrain Innovation Center in Longmont, Colorado, and her students, Mia and Anthony, as well as Mac Caboza with Boulder County Open Space. And so to give a little bit of background on today, our conversation will really be focusing on the collaboration and experiences from our panelists on the Northern Leopard Frog Recovery Project at St. Vrain in Longmont. Head starting is really what the program is focusing on. And head starting is a conservation technique where young animals are raised in protective and captive environments during their most vulnerable life stages and then released into the wild. And this particular project began in January 2023, design a system to receive, raise, release northern leopard frogs. As a species of concern in Colorado, northern leopard frogs are a key indicator of ecosystem health, and this project was really spurred on in response to flood recovery in this part of Colorado. And so these students and the students before them sought to develop a strategy to maintain their population. And that really took a lot. Really taking into consideration habitat, water quality, nutrition, mortality, and even pathology to ensure the eggs and the tadpoles survived and stayed healthy for their release. And it has even evolved in its 4th year this year to share their findings with other natural resource management agencies throughout the Mountain West to essentially create standard operating procedures for other people seeking to do this type of work. So its impact has gone much farther than its original intention. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from our panelists today. And without any further ado, I want to hand it off to Anna. We'll kind of start the conversation. So hopefully we'll get our panelists in here now.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Taylor, for that overview. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I am Anna Brown, as Taylor mentioned. I am based on the East Coast, so I am kind of vicariously live through you all and hear about what's happening in Colorado. I have been serving on the EarthForce board for a number of years now, and am currently honored to have the role of board chair. And so today we're going to delve into what's been happening in Colorado and hear a bit from Mia and from Anthony and Jamie and Mac about this youth-led project, but that has key partners with educators and other key organizations in the state. And so I wanted to just get a little bit oriented to who we're talking to and see if Mia, would you just give a brief intro, say your full name and what grade you're in? That would be great.
Hi, my name is Mia Montano, and I am currently a junior.
Awesome. And Anthony, could you also do the same? Tell us what grade you're in.
Yeah, of course. My name is Anthony Galvan, and I'm a junior.
Awesome. So I was going to start maybe with you, Mia, and could you just give us a sense of when you started working on this project, this Northern Leopard Frog Head Starting project?
I started working with the Northern Leopard frogs, I believe, January. I started taking, I believe, data conservation science for my 2nd semester, where I learned more about the species, and then we set up tanks and raceways to help raise them once we got the eggs in, I believe, April. Once I learned about the frogs, I was like completely enamored with them. It was just a species that I didn't know about, even though I've spent my whole life in Colorado. And since then, I've been doing what I can to help with the project and the frogs.
I love that. We've just had big night here where I am in Maine,
Oh.
and it's been fun to help escort the amphibians across the road at night. That's great. Thank you, Mia. It's great to hear a little bit about your initial engagement. Anthony, can you also talk about when you started working on this project and maybe a little bit what you've taken on as your area of interest?
Yeah, so this is my, I think I started late last year or beginning of last year, and started working with the frogs. And I just I loved fish tanks, and that was always something a passion of mine. And so I thought, oh, if I can do fish tanks with frogs and I actually get to make an impact on my environment, then I thought, why not take a shot at it? And so ever since then, I've been just working with the frogs, trying to make sure the tanks are set up right, and just different methods like that.
How many people are in total this year part of the group that the student group?
15 or so.
Yeah, around that.
It's hard to always know because we have so many mentors and partners with us out in the field.
Yeah.
So it's always a big group.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Well, I'd love to hear from both of you. What we're talking about today is in particular really interested in the partnership or the engagement between young people and adults, educators and other experts and resource providers in our community. So I'd love to hear from each of you in whichever order you prefer about the different support that you've received from your adult partners, whether that's your teacher or MAC or other folks within your community.
I think for me, I had my first experience with CBW was when I got to meet last year. I can't remember his name, but we had a guy come in, and we kind of talked with him, and it was really cool to hear all of his stories about working with beavers and the stories of all of those things that we did. And of course, he taught us a lot about the frogs, and he gave us a bunch of fun facts. And that was always a very fun thing for me because I loved hearing, oh, this is what we're doing. This is the impact that we're creating on our environment. And that was something that was really important to me, and I learned a lot from that.
Great. How about you, Mia?
When I first started this project, I didn't have that much information regarding conservation on a ground level. I knew about the overall topic, but everyone was super welcoming. A lot of the people from Boulder County were able to explain anything I needed to know, along with Miss Snyder, who helped me all along the way, learning the processes of helping the frogs. We also work with a lot of streams nearby and helping me process the water from those. I didn't have any clue how to do any of this before. So it was really great to be able to get help and not be afraid to ask for help or advice on anything I was doing.
That's great. So you were learning entirely new skills and figuring out kind of what you needed to learn to be able to do this project.
Yeah, I was figuring it out as I went, and I'm still learning even to this day on how to do different things, how to properly clean the tanks, how to do water testing in our classroom, and a bunch of other skills, like how to make the frog food while they're currently still here.
I'd love to hear about that in a little bit. That's great. I'm gonna maybe turn to you, Jamie, and I'm gonna circle back to you, Mia, and Anthony in a little bit. But Jamie, I'd love to hear about when you first started working on this northern leopard frog recovery program.
We started 4 years ago. We were working with another species prior, and then we transitioned to the frogs. And so we agreed with Boulder County Parks and Open Space, as well as Colorado Parks and Wildlife, that we were going to be on a 3-year pilot. And the 3-year pilot was to help. We had nothing. We didn't know how to raise the species in-house at all. There was no prior information out there. So we reached out to other partners. We went down to the Denver Zoo and looked at, got a behind-the-scenes tour of the Boreal Toad Barn, looked at how they did their tank design with their lighting and their biomedia and the water flow through. And then we also had other partners. Boulder County was able to help bring in people from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and other connections. And we kind of pieced it together, how we were going to build the tanks. The first year we had to do a lot of water quality. The water quality wasn't the best. We had to do a lot of water changes. And so the second year we built vertical, so we could add a lot more biomedia. And then we were constantly working on that diet as well. We learned about spindly leg syndrome, unfortunately, but we were able to monitor the water hardness as well as change the food that we feed them. And so over the years, we always learned something new. And this year, these two are doing a fantastic job keeping the conservation going and learning about the impact of temperature, of the water temperature on the tadpoles.
Yeah, that's great. And you've sort of touched on it a little bit, but I'd love to hear, Jamie, from you, just to expand a little bit on your approach to this partnership between adults and youth. I mean, it sounds like this is a project, in a sense, you all were learning together, and that's really interesting in a different model than how sometimes education works. But if you could talk about your approach to having young people and adults work together in the classroom and outside of the classroom.
Sure. So I previously came from industry. I used to work in the field. I loved it, and I then got into education and outreach. So I came from the other perspective. So coming here, this is called the Innovation Center, and we are very innovative here. So it's really, I'm very lucky to be able to have this opportunity. The Innovation Center is all about trying new things, from topics to different techniques, different approaches. And so that's kind of what we're all about. Is my program, my bioscience pathway, is engineering backed. And so the idea is that you're going to have hiccups along the way, and how do you learn from it and keep moving forward and progressing? And the Innovation Center, really our core mission and vision is kind of building that industry pipeline. So we want students to learn the skills that they need to be successful in the workforce. And the best way to do that is to utilize our industry partners. We have them coming in as guest speakers. We have them out in the field with us, so the students are learning from the pros right there in the field. So these guys are already, their resumes are very impressive. And they're writing the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, for raising this species in-house, because it's never been done before.
Amazing. I'm curious, going back to, well, I guess to you, Jamie, I'll ask a follow-up, but what has been, I guess, most exciting to you, especially coming from a different background, not coming from education, but what has been most exciting to you about this model of environmental education, environmental applied civics?
So that's a great question. And I have many answers, because I just wanted the students to know that at any age, they can make a difference in their community. They can make a positive impact. And that is seen, I mean, our ecosystem is massive. Our watershed that we're working with is huge. We're actually in 2 different watersheds. So, so just seeing that they're making that positive impact. But then our students have presented at conferences. They've done lunch and learn sessions at Boulder County Parks and Open Space. They're constantly working with the professionals at all different levels, like in the field, side by side, brainstorming ideas together, troubleshooting ideas together, but then standing up and presenting. They had to learn, they use ArcGIS, and the idea of, we have this data, how do we tell that story? How do we visualize it? So they're learning all those skills. And then last year I had 7 seniors graduate from this project that they've been working on it for some 4 years, some 5 years, because they started in middle school. And all 7 of them went on to college to major in something connecting to this project: wildlife ecology, wildlife biology. And so that also that touched my heart.
That's really cool. I'm curious I'm going to get to you, Mac, in a few minutes. Hold on. Mia and Anthony, I'd love to hear, I heard a little bit of a reference to sort of the food. There's a need to kind of make some modifications. It sounds like you've been doing a lot of adapting as you've gone. Can you talk a little bit about that process and kind of how that's worked with young people, and then having these adult resource people, and sort of how you figured out what to do?
I can start. So a good example of figuring out what we need to do and adjusting as we go was after a while within the project, I was tasked with making the food. I had already been given a recipe to follow, but we didn't know what amounts we should give them this year. So I've been talking to teachers and other adults, like our lab assistant, Megan, about how much I should feed them, how we should adjust it over time, and what adjustments need to be made. Like when we should switch them from a gel food to more pellet food, how much of that should we give them, and how long the transition between those should be. Just to make sure everything is best for the frogs, it's really important to adapt it when they need it instead of when we need to adapt it or when we feel comfortable to do so.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
Sorry.
You can
Yeah.
jump in, Anthony.
I was gonna say Mia did a great job explaining that. I think that's been one of the main things we've been working on this year as well. I wasn't really here prior to making a lot of the food, so I don't know what it was before. I don't know if it's changed at all. But I mean, I bet it has. But just being able to like see how we've developed like a new recipe in this it's been really fun.
That's great. Mac, I want to turn to you and get you into the conversation and hear just first of all, when did you start working with students when you were in this role with Boulder County?
More than 4 years ago. I have to admit though, my staff have worked with this group of students more than me. I'm generally in the background, buying things or talking to other adults to let them have access to the different ponds. And Sarah, Jordan, and Lacey are my staff that come in. They couldn't be here today, but they're the ones that these guys work with more often. But I've been working with the IC for several years now.
And what is that? I mean, it can be from I'm curious to hear what that experience has been like working with the students in that maybe from your role more in the backdrop. It sounds like you're maybe helping to maybe even negotiate spaces a little bit so that this partnership can work or from the perspective of your colleagues who are maybe working more directly with the students.
Sure. So I'm the supervisor of the wildlife group at Boulder County Parks and Open Space. There's about 5 full-time staff and 4 seasonals. And so I've made sure my staff has dedicated time to the students in the school and to the preservation of these species. Boulder County is committed to recover threatened and endangered species and locally rare species like this. So this achieves our goal for the citizens of Boulder County who actually highly value these things. We have a comprehensive plan for the county, and we actually have an environmental element of that comprehensive plan that specifically calls out these frogs as a high priority species to conserve, as are all amphibians, honestly, because of disease threats and invasive species. And quite frankly, having students be part of the solution is the solution, because it is creating ladders of opportunity for them. They're learning in the real world conservation. And there's no better way to know what needs to be done than having experience. And I know by talking to students and young people, they're always like, how do I get experience to get a job? If the job needs experience, where do I get the experience? And so this is one way to get that. And starting early is in high school, or, it's really giving you that edge to help also understand the degree you're pursuing in college or the job that you want in the future. So I really want from my perspective in the county, we really want to create ladders of opportunities for students, but also we're achieving conservation goals for the community and for Colorado. And like Jamie was saying, I try to bring in experts from federal agencies like U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and other agencies, even nonprofits like Ocean First Institute is an organization we work with. And the City of Boulder Open Space and Mountain Parks gave us our first eggs from their properties. It wasn't from county. So there are lots of partners. And I think that's a good message for the kids too, to know that, like any other big project, it requires collaboration and communication. And I hope that they're getting that understanding that communication is important and creating partnerships is important. To drive success forward. But I could tell you more, but what else would you like to know?
Well, I would love to hear sort of what has surprised you along the way in terms of this this partnership and particularly engaging with young people?
One thing I really enjoy working with young people, kids, youth, is they don't know the wrong questions to ask. They'll ask things that are, it sort of creates innovation, because as we get older, we start to inhibit our questions. We start to say, oh, I don't think I want to ask that question because I might be wrong. Well, I love the curiosity that young people bring. They bring this like, hey, why don't we do it this way? It's like, yeah, why don't we do it that way? And the energy that young people bring to these projects, they want to go out and learn. They also take that home to their families, and that spreads. And that's a huge part of conservation, is spreading that message to your friends and families. But I've just been really blown away by how much interest there is in conservation science, and linking that to data science and all these other things that we're doing in these programs and keeping it going. And I think this also, by the way, is a huge magnet for other organizations to want to come here and work with the students, because it gives them a connection to these students too. Because like I said, the federal agencies and state agencies are out there, but they don't have a whole lot of inroads to work with youth like this. It's challenging for them. And for me, it's been really a breath of fresh air to say, let's do it this way, let's try this. And then we do it. We put the tanks here, we start these things, and we're flying drones, and we're taking environmental data. We're working with other partners, or it could be more difficult for me to do that because of legal reasons, or people just don't have time, or they don't have interest, but there's interest here and there's need. So it's exciting.
That's great. I'd love to actually go back to Mia and Anthony and just hear, picking up on kind of those comments about curiosity and kind of asking questions, and just to hear, my understanding is that you both kind of got to choose to work on this project. Is that right? When you had other things you could pick from in terms of opportunities. Is that right? You can be honest.
Yeah, on my end it is. I knew I wanted to help with conservation within my lifetime, but I wasn't sure how exactly I was able to or how I would want to. So this was a great opportunity to see one of the sides of it, especially with like local conservation and the efforts people are putting in, even with all the adults volunteering around me. It shows that people truly do care about it, and it shows that I can pursue this into my adulthood, even if this isn't the field I go into.
Yeah, that's great. And Anthony, how about you? Was this something you chose to be part of?
Yeah, so I kind of stumbled upon this project on an open house. It was kind of a wonderful accident, honestly. So I just kind of came in, and I heard that, hey, this is what we do here. Like, this is very and to me, like, little freshman me thought this was such an interesting project to go into. And I really decided that I was going to try, and I emailed Jamie like the day after and was like, hey, like, I saw your guys' project. Like, this is really cool. I was wondering if I could join. Like, how can you get me on? And they're like, hey, like, just come to like a couple of the things, and we'll figure we'll see how you're a good fit for our team. And so that kind of spiraled into now I'm one of the head leads of this project, in trying to come in and try and take care of the frogs. And that's just been, ever since then, that's just how it's been.
Had you heard anything about this project? Were there things that you were particular, for me, it sounds like conservation, you were interested in that, in working on conservation. Were there other things that drew you to want to be involved in this? Like the people or the types of experiences that you would have?
I would say it was a mix of the people and experiences. For me personally, I really like working with my hands and solving practical problems. Something I can touch has always been a big interest. So getting to work with my hands to collect samples, process them, work with the frogs, make the food, feed them was really great for me. And just getting to experience all of this without too much limitation really pushed me more into it.
Yeah, that's great that you had the choice, and that it sounds like this has been a space where you follow your curiosities, and you can kind of problem solve and roll your sleeves up and dig in. Jamie, I think you're still there. I think that your camera is very responsive. Is she still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, perfect. I think your arm. I had a question to sort of bring you back in to the conversation, and it sounds like this has been so multifaceted. You've been working on this recovery project for multiple years. I would love to hear about challenges that you faced along the way that and I'm sure that there's more than one that you and your students have faced, and how you have together gone about navigating those challenges.
As we said, I've been working with Mac for a long time now, and then also Mickey from Ocean First Institute. Mickey is fantastic with tanks and awareness. She really helped us with all of our filters, like getting going. And the way that this started is before we did the frogs, we actually did a fish species, the northern red-bellied dace. And we started that in I feel like it was like January, February of 2020. So we're getting all the tanks in, and in March, the schools closed down. So, I mean, that's kind of how our partnership began, was with challenges. And so, like I said from the start, it's part of science is you're constantly learning, and you're going to have surprises along the way, and how you troubleshoot them and keep going that's innovation. That's innovation occurring as you go, and science progressing. So honestly, daily we have challenges. Just this year, these two have been part of, we have had electrical issues. One of our heaters in the tank went out, and so the amps were off, and so we've tripped circuits, and because of that, it then broke a pump, so the water flow wasn't going. Our drain got clogged, and the drain design was all by students as well, but it got clogged with different materials, so we almost overflowed the tanks and tadpoles. Today, our ammonia levels were so high, so trying to troubleshoot that. I mean, you name it, it's daily. There's a challenge, we just roll with it.
Yeah, what's interesting, it sounds like, kind of hearing from all of you too, that these are real issues with real stakes. It's like, you're trying to keep species alive. It's not kind of a made up problem
No.
at all. So that really, I think, changes the dynamics. I wanted to kind of pause for a second and just invite folks in the audience. I think we have a great audience. Some folks have been dropping in comments and some questions, and I can try to feed some of those into the conversation if and when there's time. But if you do have comments, please feel free to use the comment feature of the StreamYard, and those can be fed in to the conversation as time is available. There was a question I did want to pull in right now. It's sort of a clarification question, I think, which was from Catherine, asking if this, if you could maybe actually just contextualize, like, this program, is this part of a in-school or extracurricular kind of club related activity? Is that something maybe, Jamie, you want to address?
Yes. So as I mentioned, we're at a place called the Innovation Center. So the Innovation Center is actually a program within the St. Vrain Valley School District. And so the St. Vrain Valley School District, I believe it's like the 7th largest school district in Colorado. We cover both Boulder County and Weld County. And we have over 33,000 students in our school district. So the Innovation Center offers classes during the day. Most are elective classes. My bioscience program offers classes for science credit towards graduation. We have other pathways here. Sorry.
It's all good. We've got like cats coming. My dog just came in. We've got music. It's what makes it interesting. Were you finished? Or
sorry about that. No. So
okay.
What we do, so our other pathways here, we have the idea is we're very innovative. So we have a cybersecurity, we have an entrepreneurial zone, which has been huge. A lot of our pathways can overlap. We have the robotics, and they focus on aquatic robotics. So they've come out in the field with us. We have our aero team that's both drones, so UAVs, but also like ground pilots. We have music innovation. We have arts. They've actually made comic books about our work with the Northern Red-bellied dace so people could hear our stories and what we do. We have an AI pathway. So there's a lot of different pathways here, and the students can take these elective classes throughout the day. Then after school hours, we actually have, it's an amazing opportunity for these students where we can hire them on as student designers. And so like Anthony, like he's like on the clock, getting paid when he is doing his work here. And he comes in, like if he has free blocks or after school, he comes in and helps take care of the tanks on days that we don't have anyone available. And he'll clock in and he has to learn all of the HR aspects from that. And these are after school hours. So some students do it as volunteer hours. This is where we can bring in middle schoolers to help out, but the majority of students are high school age. And once they turn 15, then they can get hired on. So our program is definitely unique. And it is, again, during the day, that idea of class schedules, and then that after school project teams is more of that, let's have some mentors come in. Let's do those, make sure we have those industry connections.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I'm going to actually ask Taylor, I haven't really put you on the spot, but I'm going to have you hop in. I think you may have questions, you may have comments. I'd love to pull you in and all your wisdom.
No, I appreciate it because, yeah, I've had the privilege of working with Jamie over the years on this project, watching it and seeing it grow and evolve. And everything that they've said, I couldn't say any better. But I think what I wanted to really get out of this conversation with the youth adult partnership elements is really the complexity. And I think the community need. So Mac already articulated that this is something that this watershed region is really hoping to do with these species of concern, and then the students' engagement on the complex elements of the project. And I think we could go for days about all the different facets of developing an amphibious aquatic husbandry element and then releasing them into the wild and all of those complexities. I really appreciate the students and you all addressing these very small aspects of this larger complex issue. And one thing I'm really interested in now, after having all of this experience, what is it like creating standard operating procedure? Like, you students are essentially influencing, the protocols, the regulations, the policies that these natural resource management agencies are going to be doing. So I'm curious how you all feel about that, as well as, Jamie and Mac, and this idea of the work that you all are doing is now creating a new standard. You're actually helping influence and create a protocol for people to use.
I'll take that one because these guys haven't really been part of, they're coming into the fourth year. So we're after the 3-year pilot when we've been really setting out the procedures that we're following. And then if you guys have anything to add, please feel free to jump in. But so through the years, our students have been lucky enough to have been part of the RISE Challenge that has really helped us propel and help fund a lot of these initial ideas and plans, and then actually put it into place. So everything from the field work and field observations, which these guys have been out there rain or shine. Last week we were out there in a snowstorm, and then this week it's in the 80s. So just having proper gear, proper field awareness. They use industry grade YSI sensors. They have to calibrate all the equipment. So, and all this was made possible through the RISE Challenge. And they also had, they had to give presentations, and they had to get that communication experience and prepare a budget sheet. These are all skills they just continue to add on to. So through the challenge, we also had the food group. They were successful. The first year we were buying we had a team build a vertical hydroponics, and we had fresh veggies that we were then cooking and getting into different forms for the tadpoles. The year after, we're like, that's so much work. Let's see if we can just buy algae pellets. Then we had spindly leg syndrome. So now, and Mia has done a great job, but they do eat very fresh. They have kale powder and spinach powder. And so these were all possible because of the RISE Challenge. We were able to go through these different experiments and learn from them. The tank design was also, we couldn't have done that without the help of the RISE Challenge. I still remember, we had an open space, and we're like, we think we'll fit the tanks here. What are the sizes? How much water? And Mickey from Ocean First Institute, I have a picture of her modeling, we put tape down of this is where it's going to go. And I mean, we were just building from the ground up. And again, you have challenges with like certain lights that we had. We're like, well, these aren't the best. Actually, we needed this because these started to heat up too much. The water filters.
Weekend
Oh,
feeding.
yes, coming in on the weekends and weekend access and care. And yes, there's been a lot along the way. And again, all of that just takes so much time and money and support. And so the RISE Challenge has been great with that. And so those groups were the ones that were really writing the SOPs because we were learning as we went. And we're like, how long do we need? Can we leave the food in there? Does it make the water quality go bad? Or do they have enough time to eat? Or are they too full? The species we're working with they're very cannibalistic. So, so we need to watch all of that. And so getting all those times and writing those SOPs, we're still learning now. And so they're coming in for the 4th year. I'm working with the temperature differences. Do you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, I was going to say it's sometimes been a little stressful with certain things. Like we've been working on, we probably have to work on redoing that filter. I mean, if it's going to clog up every time.
Yeah.
Like she was saying, we had a overflow situation or a close overflow situation with one of the tanks, and it's been an experience learning how like we have to troubleshoot real life issues in like a scenario, because this does have great effects on our environment. So it's just been it's been a bit of an adventure for sure.
Mia, do you have anything to tack onto that?
I would say the troubleshooting isn't as bad as I thought it might be, especially since I'm able to work with my peers really closely to try to deal with and fix some of the issues. After the filter was clogged, a ton of my classmates and I were able to go out, check the area for any other issues, make sure everything was okay as far as we knew, making it feel less daunting, along with just having a good teacher like Miss Snyder there to help guide us and give us a general idea of what to expect with the troubles we'll have, while also preparing us to deal with the unexpected.
There's always something
Yeah.
new. And oh, sorry. I have the professionals on speed dial. Sometimes when we have mortalities and we don't know, we have to save them and then we get them tested. I would like to just point out that also through the RISE Challenge, we started to get into something called eDNA, which is environmental DNA. And so Mia is probably going to be continuing that with the summer and into next year, because we actually are building our own eDNA lab. So they'll be writing the SOPs for that and the procedures for how that can work in a school-based environment and have client-based work. Like we would actually take in samples from clients. And so that will be an opportunity where she can be writing the SOPs, where Anthony is starting another project, also with Boulder County Parks and Open Space. We're trying to our partners are trying to reintroduce the black-footed ferrets, but we have to do some vaccinations first for the prairie dogs, and we want to use drones to do that to save the time of having humans actually go out and have to deploy all of it by hand. So Anthony's been working very closely with our drone performance team and also our robotics with the electrical aspects, and so tons of collaboration, and they'll be also writing all of that, because there's not like a drone with a set hopper for the 3-direction deployment that we want. That doesn't exist here. So again, these are opportunities that the students, they will still have chances to be innovative.
Can I add something? It's really exciting how one project leads to another. And, innovation, I think it was Arizona State University developed a similar type system to develop plague vaccination drones, but they ran into a wall, technical challenges that now this group has the chance to solve. And basically we're taking a problem that, I hope they're not listening, but you guys did great, that the feds were trying to solve, and now we're going to have our innovation team solve it. And if we can do this, we can impact black-footed ferret conservation across the entire west of the United States, because it's very difficult to deploy these vaccine strategies by hand. Takes a lot of time, people in the field, and it's risky. There's rattlesnakes out there. You're walking around through open ground, throwing baits to prairie dogs, but there's rattlesnakes. A drone doesn't have that worry. So that's one thing. And then working with endangered species reintroduction, they're going to be exposed to that. But running into challenges leads to more connections, more opportunities. And, industry partners, just like the issue with water quality or the filter, Aqua Imports is a fish, an aquarium store in Boulder that reaches out and gives technical support to the team here. They're a major fish supplier for the area, and they have experts on staff who work with the students here. So you never know what partnership is going to open up based on a challenge. And so a friend in need is a friend indeed, and just creates more partnerships because we ask for help and they give it.
Absolutely. And yeah, I appreciate, Jamie, you mentioning the RISE Challenge, which is a former program operated by Earth Force, really focusing on community resilience against natural hazards. And so that's really what stemmed the investigation. So connecting it to environmental applied civics, EAC, you and your students were focusing on a community issue, community need centered around flooding. And then it was also subsequently connected to drought as well. And you really honed in on this kind of habitat and ecosystem recovery. And then with that, you found your issue and saying there's this gap here, there's this vulnerable species that we might lose, and that is already designated as a species of concern by our public trust agencies that manage that. And so with that issue, you dove into the research, gathering all of these amazing organizations. I mean, you listed all of them, Denver Zoo, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Boulder County Parks and Open Space, Ocean First Institute, and really you connecting your students to these resources to get this expert knowledge so that they can then develop the strategy. And then the strategy within that project, there's so many different ones. You were talking about eDNA, which was talking about the pathology or habitat, water quality. So with these types of projects, I really like this one to highlight because it is not the traditional EAC, as it were, but the students' engagement with the conservation and natural resource management folks and their decision-making process is really the key, and how it links to environmental applied civics, that you, along with your students, along with your community organizations, are working together to solve this challenge. And that's really how I would say that really ties in. And so I really appreciate that work. And I'm curious, I see a comment in the chat about that, kind of this feeling. How does it feel for you, Mia and Anthony, as a young person having a seat at the environmental decision-making table? And I think it's interesting, kind of, you are contributing to a larger project. I think it's really fun and exciting. I know that you are working on the one aspect of nutrition, but it really contributes to this larger scope, and that it will be then used and taken into other places. So how does that feel?
I can start. I'd say it feels great, but it also feels kind of unreal because I'm helping day to day. It's what feels like small tasks. For me, I'm usually helping within class because I spend a lot more class time there versus student designer meetings. So it feels weirdly normal, but then I'm reminded about the scope of this project and this type of conservation. And I saw the comment, and it was also asking for any advice for younger people. I would say be willing to learn, yet also question what you learn in hopes of improving it and making processes easier, faster, and more approachable for others.
I mean, it's definitely been an experience, like, to be able to make an impact on people by like just talking. We've had a lot of open houses here at the Innovation Center, and being able to like talk with people and like really share what we do here and like be able to like orchestrate that. I think one day we went to talk to, there was like industry professionals that came in, and we had to talk to some of them. And that was stressful for me because I love talking to people, but also was like, these are professionals, like this is a little scary. And I got talking to like one of the people from Boulder, and she was talking about how like she had done research in like the CU area, and it's been interesting to like get the experience to like hear more and to learn more from these individuals, and to like be able to sit here and be like, I actually have some influence, able to talk to these professionals that actually can, like, in the adult world, can hear our perspectives and make an even greater impact. I mean, I know we have a great impact, but we can do that by sharing that with other generations. And then for advice, I would definitely say like talking is everything. Like being able to talk with industry professionals and being able to like communicate and be able to talk about deep projects and what we do here at the Innovation Center has definitely been something that I have learned has been very important, and it's very much something I can carry into the rest of my life.
I would love to ask another question, kind of building on your response to the question about what advice you have for young people, Mia and Anthony, and ask you if you were to give advice to other adults who were interested in working with youth on action projects like this, what advice would you give to adults?
I'd also say be the listener. I think there's a lot of potential in our younger generation to be influential. With the researchers that we have now, we're able to like be branching out and to be able to like communicate with the entire world through just simply a post, right? And so being able to like see us and maybe like give us opportunities like more like this at the Innovation Center to be able to make a greater impact.
I'd say they need to be open to different perspectives and experiences when working with younger people, because the divides between generations are pretty big compared to what you might think. I'd say being open is a really big part, along with being able to teach without having full control, which kind of ties into being more open, letting some light experimenting happen and letting them just kind of figure it out along the way.
These are really good nuggets of wisdom. I would actually love to follow up with you on the question of or your comment that there are differences across generations. And I'm curious if you have just specific observations about what's hard and what also kind of building on the advice question of like what is needed for kind of cross-generational collaborations.
I would say when I first started this project, I found it a little daunting to talk to industry professionals about my questions and maybe suggestions. Over time, I was able to get more comfortable with them. Even questions I thought might be super simple, I was still able to get great answers with no judgment. So, as a younger person, it was daunting to talk to older people within this space. And a lot of it is just openness on both ends. Both ends need to be open and willing to learn and explore. And a lot of the older generation that we have worked with are really open to different ideas and exploring different things, questioning certain protocols to an extent, of course, and how we can change it for the better.
Do you have anything to add, Anthony?
I mean, I was going to say that we're really not all that different, right? I mean, we all have a common goal. Like, if anything, I've learned how connected we are. Like, though we may have different ideas, though we may have different experiences in our schools, we still have a common goal. And I feel like we're as a community, as people, we're able to work together. Hearing the knowledge from CPW and like learning all those things from them has been extremely helpful for me. Like, these people have gone through college and they've gone through the experiences, and it's been really cool to hear like what it's like for them out in the field. And it's been really cool for me to like be able to like, just be able to be in community with these people and be able to like talk about something that I'm passionate about and be able to work together.
That's great. Did you want to say something too, Jamie?
I love working with all different generations. The younger students, obviously, as an educator, they're not like jaded by society yet. You know, they're still very imaginative and creative, and they have the passion. And as Max said earlier, you know, they come in with ideas like, why wouldn't you try this? And just because their mind's so open and they don't know kind of all those pressures and rules yet. So it's a blast. It's really fun. I really try hard to get them comfortable as Mia said, you know, the beginning is very daunting, which it is. This is a huge project, but it's these are also other people, and learning when more people can work together and collaborate, that's how we advance and improve. So I do have guest speakers that come in, and I try to bring in different age levels. So Liz, who works with the amphibians for the state at CPW, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, came as a guest speaker and spoke about like, this was my educational path and it's not always a straight line. So they can see, what could be the next educational steps. But she also brought in her seasonal and also connected us to a grad student at CSU, Elena, who's working with the northern leopard frog specifically on the genetic side. And now Elena comes out in the field with us as a mentor. We also have another person, Lucas, who's a mentor. He's a data scientist. So he's helping us really with we have so much data that's coming in. Like, how do we streamline that? Like, can we be using like better forms or like AI to read our raw data that we write down? And so these guys are the ones working with these mentors, and definitely helps. I think all the seasonals are younger, so we definitely have several generations that are out there between Mac and I are the older guy,
Sure.
the older ones,
Yeah.
and then the seasonals are a little
And
younger.
Sarah's kind of in between.
Yep. And then we have, current grad students and then these guys who, that's their next step is what, am I looking at taking on like a summer work, like working with Boulder County Youth Corps for the summer, or am I looking to go to college? And so there's a lot of options. They can see all that.
Great. Matt, I know we're kind of getting close on time to wrap up on the hour, but I had a question for you, Mac, as we sort of close out and think about how I mean, obviously this is so inspiring, and there's so much richness in learning and real contribution to the world, to conservation that is emerging out of this project and projects like it. I'm curious to hear if you have reflections from where you sit on what needs to happen to make more opportunities like this possible. What are some of the enablers you see that could really help?
You mean like in other school districts or in other states or in other places?
Yeah, I mean, it could be also just if you have reflections on kind of what has made it work from you obviously have, Boulder County Open Space has been it seems like very engaged and very open to this kind of collaboration. That might not be the case for, all institutions. This is a new way of doing stuff in some ways. And so if you have reflections on, I guess it's a little bit open, but if you have reflections on kind of how others might want to become engaged, or how this could sort of scale up from the standpoint of having partners like yourselves willing to participate.
Sure. I think number one, there are environmental clubs across different school districts, different places. I think those environmental groups, those kids, I think those should be given a little more voice and opportunity, funding and mentors. Those programs exist already in many schools, but I think sometimes they don't get their wings. They really need to be given real environmental conservation projects with their local state wildlife agency or a local conservation organization. I will tell you, Audubon Society is a big one. There's ways to connect with. They're mainly for birds, but they'll do other things too. There's ideas there, right? You also have to have a willing school district. Like the Innovation Center here is very unique, but I don't think it has to be unique. I think other school districts could offer this, and I think it's needed. It's not simply, it's more than a technical program maybe that you might see in high schools or something. This is an innovation, and we really need that now more than ever. I think communities need to invest in their schools, they need to invest in their teachers, and they need to invest in more programs in places like this. People like me will come out and we will be there for you. I think I found this place because it exists, and the people like Jamie that work here and the students that are here. But I don't know, although I want to think we're all unique, which we are, I think this could happen anywhere. It just needs education, teachers need to be given, and students need to be given a voice. And I think we all need to be part of the solution. And going forward, we need more of that collaboration to find solutions to not only our environmental problems, but other things. And so I think having that focus is important for our leadership, for our elected leaders at any level, your mayor, of your town, your state governor, whoever you can grab hold of, talk to them. And not just adults, but students can also talk to their elected leaders. They can email them, they can call them, it's okay. But really prioritizing these things and giving it a voice. And I think the time is right for it. And I think these could happen in many more places if we gave it a little more emphasis.
Great. Thank you so much, Mac. Taylor, I want to turn it over to you for I think we have time for one more question, and you can maybe close us out.
I'm all good.
Yay, Mia. We're
Thanks, you're
glad you're
back, Mia. I'm glad you can hear us. Yeah, this conversation
glad
has been
to.
fantastic. And we've got, only a few more questions. And I kind of want to end on Jamie and really talking about if you were to go back and do it all again from scratch, what advice would you give yourself?
That's a great question. That's a challenging one. Before I get into that, I do want to point out I just want to continue what Mac was saying. Another big partner that we have is the Watershed Center. We haven't spoken about them, and they're excellent. They're around on county properties and city properties. They're just around to help, and there's volunteer opportunities. They, there's just like that idea of bringing the community and making a difference. And so there are organizations out there that do that. These students are also getting, Anthony's almost done, Mia already did, their Riverwatch certification. So it's an industry certification and of properly taking water quality skills. And they had to show their lab skills. They had a practicum where they were observed. And so programs can start by utilizing those skills. If I were to do this all again and start over with it, what advice would I give to myself? I don't know. I just go with the flow. I love hearing ideas. I'm a big systems thinking, like, oh, this connects here and this connects here. My background is geology. I've done a lot in the field, and my goal was I wanted students to get real world experience and get out in the field. Sitting in a classroom surrounded by the same set of walls every time is not for every student. And so I was a big advocate I used to work with LiDAR, and I was going to conferences, and it was right when LiDAR drones were coming out, and I was like, we need to get this as part of our drone program. And, and so there's so much there, there's so much potential. So I don't know, maybe advice for me would just be to each year have a main focus. So it's just a little more manageable, but that's just, science isn't that way. Like surprises come along and they're always fun and interesting and frustrating and stressful at the same time. So that's what it's all about. The idea is, making the biggest impact for the most students and making sure they still are passionate and continue through with their curiosity.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your insights and your willingness to share your experiences and reflect on it all. And I think you really pulled out a lot of really great things. And I think you're talking about some of this element of control. And I think you share that sharing that openness and willingness to collaborate and work together to address issues. And so thank you all so much for this lovely conversation and panel, contributing to the 4th EAC week, I believe. And just want to let you all know, my name is Taylor Ruffin. And if you're interested in joining us tomorrow, we have the Caring for Our Watersheds in the Chesapeake Bay finalist announcement. And so please, if you're interested in learning more about student work connected to environmental applied civics, please register and join us there. Thank you all so much, and have a great rest of your day.